Yeah, they have been putting up with us for a long time, so anybody is better than their parents. So, so, uh, okay. This is my wife, Kezia. As you can see, I married way up, and we have been married for 11 years now. So it will be 12 in July, and yeah, we have a funny story. It's long. It's long. I can tell you now, but we actually met the first time when we were both 13 years old, and married during my time in the university, and when we were both 20 years old. So yeah, it's been a fun journey to be with, and yeah, I ask that you pray especially for her, as I think she faces the most of the struggles more than I do. So yeah.
She's a pastor's daughter. She can do it.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no, or not.
Yeah, she's a pastor daughter. That means that it's maybe good or bad because she already has all the traumas. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I would like to begin this time talking a little bit about the story how I got involved with training leaders and a little bit of our challenges that we face in that work that we do. Some of the failures as well. I'd like to share the failures with you as well, not just pretend that's all success. It's mostly failure and learning, and some of the prospects so that you can pray for our project in Brazil. I came to Christ when I was 17 years old, and one of the first things my best friend at the time, who is a pastor now at my church, my home church, back in the interior of the state, he gave me a book about creationism that was written by a missionary, American missionary, who was working in Brazil with that specific focus about creationism. In that book, the pastor was a missionary from Baptist Mid Missions. He motivated young Christians to pursue careers in science so that they could use that to help churches to defend the faith against evolution. So that was within 6 months of my conversion. So, and I was about the time I was getting ready to go to the university, and so I was really impacted by that call from the book, and I chose to do a science major, especially in physics. That's what I went to the university for when I was 18 years old. So right after not long after my conversion. So you can tell that was a real struggle for me, a spiritual struggle, being a new convert and being in university. But I had this purpose in mind that I should be good at science so that I could help other Christians to defend their faith against evolution. So I went with that purpose to the university. I could choose any other thing in science, but I chose physics mainly because my brother, and my older brother, was doing physics as well at the time. He started 2 years before me, so I followed his path. So it matched my purpose, and there was something that I already knew that could be done that my brother was doing, I could do as well. And so I enrolled at the university, and my wife and I got married in the fifth semester of the university. So we lived in the capital of my state for 1.5 years while I finished my degree. And I went back to my hometown, got connected with our home church there, and I began teaching at a high school there. And I had some opportunities to talk about what the Bible says about creation, and to even debate with some of the teachers in this school about that in a personal level. So I had a something in mind that I should use science to defend the Bible, but I didn't know exactly how I should do it. And at the time when we got back to our home church, I got involved with our youth ministries. There was a need in our youth ministry in our church for someone to lead the group. And the pastor approached me and my wife and asked if we could help with that. And we accepted that, the challenge, and I began to teach the Bible on a weekly basis. Very shortly after that, I figured out about my shortcomings in the Bible and having that responsibility. I was teaching the first book I chose to teach was the book of James, and I had no commentaries. Later, I received a MacArthur Study Bible in English from a pastor who was visiting. That helped me to interpret and prepare my sermons. And then I figured out that there were John MacArthur sermons on the internet about the book of James. So that was the commentary that I had. I would listen to John MacArthur sermons. I would read the transcript, and that would help me in preparation for my teaching to the youth. And so I began doing that for one semester, and started really liking that I was actually teaching people the Bible. And my wife is a pastor's daughter, and so she has entire life involved with ministries in several ways. So we began, both of us, considering getting involved full-time with ministry. Again, not really clear about what we would do. And one day, at a pastor's conference, Kaza's father went to the conference. We followed along with her father to the conference, and I was also involved in some fashion in pastoral ministry. And in that conference, there was a man who was a graduate from the Master Seminary preaching there, and there was a missionary kid who was studying at the Master Seminary, who spoke English and Portuguese, who was translating the sermons for him. And so during the conference, I had the opportunity to talk with both of them about my desire to somehow use my degree in science to help Christians to defend the Bible, to teach other Christians to how to defend their Bible. And the missionary kid, he approached me and said to me, if you want to help Christians to uphold and defend the doctrine of creation against evolution, the first thing you need to know well is not science. The first thing you need to know really well is the Bible. And especially if you can make your arguments from the original languages. And I asked him, so how could I get that training? And so he began to talk about the Master Seminary, and he said that's the best place you could go to learn the Bible, have a great foundation, learn the original languages, and do something to train other believers in what you want to do. And so he motivated me to apply in 2009. I did. I had no clue how I would pay for that training. I was in my job. I was making $300 a month. That was pretty much what I was doing at the time, 15 years ago. Not 15, 10 years ago. And it was just silly faith from what I can see today. I can't. Can I pay $120,000 for this training for spending 3 years in California, $40,000 a year? I cannot do that. But he was there, and he contacted the seminary, and he So I was accepted in the same year, 2009, and the seminary agreed that I should do some distance learning courses so they could assess my potential to be successful to come on campus with a scholarship. So I did that. I did 2 courses, Old Testament surveys from a distance, and they granted me a full scholarship and a job on campus and some other more scholarship for living expenses. And the missionary kid who was living there at the time, he helped to contact other people that could support us financially. He himself was supporting us financially during that time. And so the Lord brought me to the Master Seminary with a view to get myself ready to train other Christians. And I still had in my mind very strongly trained about creationism. But God would use the Master Seminary to expand my focus, not just to train believers just in one area of the Bible, but to train people to handle the whole counsel of God. And in the seminary, I got exposed to the Masters Academy International, which is a fellowship of schools that today they have 18 schools around the world with nationals, training nationals, equipping nationals to be Bible expositors. And during my time in the seminary as well, I met Pastor Genwan, who is my pastor today. His church granted him 1.5 years to come to the U.S. and get a master's degree in biblical counseling. So they continued paying his salary and allowed him to come for 1.5 years for training. And our time overlapped during that time, that 1.5 years, and we got really close and started sharing the same vision to train pastors in Brazil. And we began during my last year in seminary developing a plan that we could implement once we got back to Brazil. So we got back to Brazil in 2014, and immediately we went to Planalto Church. That was the church we have been serving since the time we have got in Brazil, and began planning how we would implement the training of pastors in the context of our local church. We started that with conferences. Pastor Genwan and the church already held an annual pastors conference, pastors retreat. That's more a time of having pastors have a time of relaxing from ministry and getting recharged to go back. And we plan to do something prior to that would have a more theological focus and theological training, more like workshops in expository preaching. So we had Pastor Rick Gortzen and Pastor Andrew Gutierrez, who are both graduates of the Master Seminary. In the first year, they gave workshops on how to prepare sermons depending on different literary genres of the Bible. And the following year, 2015, we had Dr. Barrick and Pastor Rick Gortzen again. Dr. Barrick made seminars on how to preach on the Old Testament, how to preach the law, how to preach the Psalms, how to preach prophecy. So we're trying to gather interest in our training through those workshops. And in 2016, during all that period, I was in charge of planning our curriculum. And you know, I'm young. I'm 32 years old. Not so young, but this is my first ministry. After that ministry with the youth in the interior of my state. So, what experience did I have with training leaders? None. So, what I thought was I want to do things similar to the training that I have received. So as much as I could, I planned our curriculum around the curriculum that I had at the Master's Seminary, and that was good and bad at the same time, because the reality of Brazil is much different from the reality of the United States. And looking back today, I see that I put a burden on our students bigger than they could carry, because I ignored the different realities. One factor that was a real challenge that I can see today is workload challenge, and the way that workers can have flexibility of managing their work hours outside of the training. Here in America, you can do part-time jobs. You can work 20 hours a week and do the rest for studying. And you can even concentrate those hours in maybe 2 days of the week. I can work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I have the other days free for me to study. There is more flexibility of work hours here in the U.S. than in the Brazilian laws. In Brazil, you either work full-time or you don't work. And you work from 8 to 5 p.m., 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is no flexibility on adjusting those work hours. Vacations, you take them in July or in January. There is, and you can take like 5 days of vacation in February or 10 days of vacation in October. You don't have that flexibility, and that was a real that had an important, a crucial impact in our training, because we felt very early that our students could not keep up with what we're offering to them. So in the midst of the process, we have to change. So we had classes weekly on Friday nights and Saturday, and the students were burning out because they were working all week, getting out of work on Friday afternoon, going straight to study, and then Saturday the full day. After noon on Saturday, they were already sleeping, so it wasn't working. So we had to change. And I changed for every 2 weeks, but taking a lesser workload, and it still was a burden, because the other mistake that I made, in the Master Seminary, they have to do in 3 years. So we are going to do also in 3 years. And they usually have 12 units per semester. We will have 12 units per semester, and it just didn't work. So I had to adjust those hours for our training to work for the reality of our students. And so we started with 8 students in our first cohort, and we ended up with 2 students, because for several reasons, not just because it was too heavy. For one, for sure, it was too heavy. He said he gave up in the first semester. It's too heavy for me. Another one moved out of to another city, and he could not come anymore. And our best student had twin daughters, and his wife after that got cancer, and so he just had to give up. So several reasons were for students stopping to attend our training. So right now we were finishing the course with these 2 students in a more in a directed study basis instead of traditional class setting. We are doing more directed studies. We're doing the same courses, but directed studies in an individual fashion. So that's how we're doing right now as we plan the transition to a new model of training with the new cohort that we want to start. So we figured out through mistakes that we have to do it modular. There is no way we can do it other way with facing the Brazilian reality that we cannot do it on a semester basis. We have to do it in a modular format and use as much as possible distance learning to help supplement the modules. And so that's how we are planning right now for the next cohort. We're planning to have 3 sessions throughout the year in April, June, and October. And the students will do only 2 courses at a time. So that's a manageable load for them, 2 courses at a time, meeting for a week in our campus, and then doing pre-course work and post-course work. That's how we're planning to do right now for the next cohort. Every year they do 6 courses, but 2 at a time. They don't overlap 4 courses at the same time as we did the first time. Now 2 courses at a time, and mixing one language course and another non-language course, because there are semesters when they have 2 language courses, and that's too heavy, simply too heavy. They could not handle it. Or learning Greek and Hebrew, that's, for most people, it's not possible. And so that's, we learn through fail. So we have failed to keep our students because I put that blame on myself, because we ignored the Brazilian reality, and we are learning with that. In the last year, we had a great blessing. From the beginning of our training, we have received interest from people in other parts of the country in attending our training. People from the state of Bahia, which is 2 hours away from us. People from the state of Rio Grande do Norte, which is 5 hours drive from where we are. And people from, even from Rio Grande do Sul, which is 5 hours flight from where we are. We started receiving interest in having that training. But at the point where we're still getting our feet on the ground. There is no way we can offer training for you guys. But last year, the Masters Academy International received requests from other schools in Brazil, from 4 different states in Brazil, to become members of the Masters Academy International. And we were already in that process. And so in September, Pastor Jan Wan attended the TMAI summit in Honduras with the Meta Institute, the school that they have there. And he met with TMAI, the leaders of TMAI, and they said, "Oh, Pastor Jan Wan, there are these 2 other schools that have contacted us. What we would like, if possible, is that you would, since you are already in the process, you would contact them, so that you could work together. So that we could have just one connection in Brazil, but with multi-sites to offer the training." And so that's what we did, and that's what we are working on right now. We are using a technology called Zoom, which is an application for video conferencing, with the views to offer simultaneous training in 4 different locations of Brazil. So the way we're setting it up is that we can have a professor in our city, in Fortaleza, with a camera and 2 screens, and a classroom in São Paulo, and a classroom in Rio Grande do Sul, and wherever the other schools are. And the professor is speaking to the students in Fortaleza, and the other students are listening, and they have the ability to speak to the professor and ask questions simultaneously. And the professor can also be another part of Brazil, and our students in Fortaleza could receive instruction and participate live. And that's not something that has never been done. There is this model is already being done successfully by one school here in the United States. That's the Expositor Seminary. They have 10 different locations in the country, and the professor is in one of the locations, and the other students are watching the class live and interacting live with the teacher. So that's the next challenge that we have for our school, to offer training to as many people in Brazil as possible in different areas of the country, not just in our own state. So I know there are great challenges to that. It's difficult to have. I have seen that it's difficult to run a school, to start a school locally, and have a new challenge. But we will also have new minds behind the school, with people from other parts that we can. It's not just my foolish head. Just we can have other people that to weigh pros and cons in that decision as well. So that's our new challenge, is to offer that training simultaneously. There is technology available to do that, and to collaborate from a distance with the directors of these other training centers to offer our training. Brazil is a huge country. It would be too much to have a school in Fortaleza, which is not a centralized location. It's very apart from other parts of the country, and have the students travel to Fortaleza 3 times a year to receive training. So with the help of technology, we can do that, have different training centers, like-minded training centers in other parts of the country, and still offer that education. That's the challenge that we have now. And maybe that's something. I was talking to Rob Kensinger from Honduras last night, and he said they are having the same challenges, because they have people from other parts of Honduras that are coming for the training, and from other countries in Central America that could use the same kind of technology to have virtual classrooms and happening at the same time in different locations, having one leader in each of those classrooms running that classroom and moderating the interaction between the different classrooms. So that's we ask that you pray for us in that regard. We need a lot of wisdom to make that possible, to do it in a way that the train will not lose any quality because of the use of technology, but we can enhance our training through that. One other difficulty with training Brazilians, and especially in having a multi-site model like that, is the availability of resources for research. The students will have to do papers. They will have to have a library to consult books. And with this new model, it cannot be a physical library, because there will be students in several parts. They cannot just come and spend a few hours in Fortaleza and research. No, we have to have a virtual library of some sort, and we have to think about that very carefully. Whether we're gonna have subscriptions, whether we're gonna have them purchase a software like Logos, where they can have a personal virtual library, or a combination of both things. That's a challenge that needs to be met. So for them to have a quality education, they have to have resources available to study. So that's one big thing that ahead of us that we have to face in order to be able to do that. There are many resources for free on the internet. On our website, for example, I have listed many journals that are free for people, for students to go and grab them, print them out. But we need more than just free journals. There are paid journals that are key for research and commentaries that a physical library would not be fitting for that model of training. So that's. I think I have spoken enough about what I view are our challenges, and I would like to open for you to ask questions of whatever nature, not just related to the training, but whatever other nature you would have curiosity of knowing about. I don't know how much time do I get. 10 minutes? Okay. Oh, yeah. So that's a great question, because the first time I planned the curriculum, not considering that the students would have prior Bible training, because that was the reality of the U.S. I didn't have prior Bible training, and I came to do an MDiv. I had a degree in physics, and I came to do a 96-unit MDiv, and so I brought that same thing to Brazil. But the reality is the students who sought us for training were students who had already done a bachelor's degree, so in theology. So seeing that reality, we were able to cut much of our curriculum from the first cohort for what we are planning for the second cohort. So that's simply what happens normally in Brazil. People who want to go into pastoral ministry, they normally do a Bible degree, a bachelor's degree in theology first, then to go to a graduate degree. So that's most of them already have a degree. They already have some training in languages, not much Hebrew, but Greek, for example. They have 2 years normally in college for Greek, and so we consider. So right now in our curriculum, we were offering Greek from scratch, from zero. Now we are offering Greek from considering that they already have at least 1 year of training in Greek. So we could cut that out of the curriculum and make it lighter, streamline the curriculum a little bit, given the reality of Brazil. Yeah.
How many students do you have enrolled in your training program?
We had 8 initially when we started the program, and because of our mistakes, it was too heavy. Now we have 2. That's what we currently have, and we are preparing for recruiting a next cohort. We cannot anticipate how many we will have. We have made a list of potential students in our state. There would be like 12 students potential, but we don't have a number because we haven't opened enrollment yet for the next cohort.
Tell them about Sabima, maybe, because that would help
Mm-hmm.
have those 2 questions.
You mean
You're teaching in the Bible college.
Yeah, one of the Bible colleges that I have a relationship with is called Sabima, which would have been there in Fortaleza for 70 years now. This is their 70th anniversary, and they have in total, in all the degrees that they offer, 100 students roughly, and many of them, like maybe 50% of those students, are in the bachelor's degree program, and they, for example, offer training in original languages. The training, at least in Greek, is good, so we can consider those students to have the first year of Greek well done before they come to our training. That's the main, in our state, that's the main pool where we can gather students for our training. There is another school in Fortaleza as well, from a different theological conviction than ours. That's Charles Spurgeon School, that has like 40 students in their bachelor's degree as well. That's another pool. They also offer training in the original languages. I have had the opportunity to be a visiting professor there for the last 2 years. I'm not teaching this semester there, but they had a need for someone to teach their first year of Greek. So I have had the opportunity to make relationships with the students in that school, and I have some of them expressed the desire to do our training when we get started again. So yeah.
How do your students submit assignments?
They, with the new model we intend to implement for the next cohort, we would use a virtual environment, a virtual learning environment where they could submit coursework, like in PDF format, for example. They could submit online.
Would that be anything like Blackboard? I'm going to Liberty University online right now.
Yeah.
And I have to submit my.
Yeah, it is similar to Blackboard. I have not used Blackboard. I have researched some of those systems like Canvas, Blackboard, and Moodle. And we have a company in Fortaleza that offers a service of how do you call it? CMS? LMS, not CMS. LMS, Learning Management System. There is a company in Fortaleza that offers that, and that's probably what we're going to use because we can have the support right there, not to wait for a support through email or something. So that's probably what you're going to use. Yeah.
Do the LMSs that you're looking at, do they have things like Zoom for doing online classes?
The LMS that's from the company in Fortaleza, where we are, it doesn't have an integration with Zoom, but we can put in like as an assignment a link to Zoom. It doesn't integrate so the students stays in the LMS for the live interaction, but we can put a link so he can be directed to another tab on the browser, for example, to watch the live class. Yes.
Sounds like the learning is done in modules, like online, and do they do them individually at home?
Yeah. So the training, the way we have set up the classes is there is a 1 week of on-site instruction, but there will be before each of those weeks there will be 9 weeks of pre-course work where the students will be interacting with the professor. For some courses that would need to be a regular interaction, like every week 2 hours of interaction. For other courses the professors could set work hours, office hours, where he would be available online, and if the student needs to consult the professor, he could go on that specific time to meet with the professor online, not necessarily with the entire class at once on a weekly basis. But the way the classes are set up would be 9 weeks of pre-course work and interaction during that period, and 1 week of module, and then 5 weeks for post-module work. That's the way we're planning to do it. So it would cover a regular 16-week, 16-week semester, regular semester. So we divided it that way: 9, 1, 5. Any other questions? I think we.
Your students end up becoming preachers and missionaries after they finish?
Yeah, that's open to, especially depending on the region where they are. For example, if in our partner school in the south, there is a great need for church planting there. So those students will probably remain in their region to be church planters in that part. In our state, in our location, we have the missions agency already set up in our church. So it's likely that some of those students will also get connected with our missions agency and be sent out as missionaries. So there is various needs, whether to remain in a local church where the student comes from and replace a pastor in the future, whether plant a church in another part of the country, or whether joining the missions agency. That would be up to the student. But the opportunities are many and varied.
So you would have older students as well?
Yes, for sure. Pastors who are already in ministry who could want to hone their skills for preaching, who had a bachelor's degree but don't know the original languages. That's the kind of students that we have received. We have one student right now who is a pastor. He's in his 50s, and he is one of the 2 students who remain. So we're doing directed studies with him right now. We have our youngest student that we had was 28 years old, and the oldest in the first cohort was in his 50s. I don't know exactly what his age was. So it varies a lot. Yes.
Where do your pastors come from? Are they nationals that are already there, or are you one of them?
Yeah, right now in Fortaleza, there is myself. There is another Master Seminary graduate living in Fortaleza as well. Pastor Denwan, who is a seasoned pastor and has a master's degree in biblical counseling. He also does some of that training. One ABWE missionary who has a doctorate in biblical counseling, who is in our church. He has done the counseling class that we have in the curriculum. He is one of the teachers. And we have contacts with the Master Seminary graduates and seminary professors. Pastor Randy Cook went to teach one of the workshops a few years back, 2016, I think, when he went to Brazil. He taught. Pastor Rick Gurton, who was one of the first supporters of that ministry, he also graduated from the Master Seminary. He went down to teach some classes. We have had professors from the Master Seminary like Dr. Michael Grisanti and Dr. William Barrick, who were my professors. So we have contact with those people. They can come. The modular format also helps with that, because we could have a professor for 1 week in Brazil and level up the quality of our training with a professor from a seminary in the U.S. The goal actually is to have nationals training nationals, but that's the ideal, and it's far from us still. And so we have the blessing to be associated with men who are willing to come down and teach the classes that we are not able to teach ourselves. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you so much for your attention. Probably not the most exciting topic, but
what are you talking about? That's extremely exciting. I think you can imagine this is exactly where I itch. After all the years that I spent in Brazil, I was always in theological training, and then you've allowed me to go back and forth several times, 4 different schools in Brazil and 2 places in Africa, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Let me just, I promise, 60 seconds, but I think this might help too as a prayer request. Brazil has a Board of Education, and they have an accreditation association, and it's very rigorous, and a lot of potential pastors or students in our Bible schools in there are keen to get an accredited degree through, it's called MECI, M-E-C. And it's become something of an issue for many of our Bible schools, because if they go that route, they are required to give so many hours of general education, even in a master's degree or something like that, that are just not really apropos to the kind of training that we're trying to give. So you have to have a math course and a science course and a history course and a Portuguese course and multiple courses, and pretty soon you don't have room in your curriculum to be able to do all the other things that you must do for a pastor. So the schools have all had a struggle in that area. Do we go that route and please the cry of the public, or do we go this route and seek to produce good pastors that are well trained? And what that means is the student at the front end, who doesn't really know, it doesn't weigh that properly probably, the student at the front end who really wants to be a pastor needs to be persuaded that that's the best way to go.
Just add one thing, like, for example, there is some persecution going on right now. We cannot call, for example, our training a master's degree, because the schools who went the master's route, they have sort of acquired the master's degree name. So if we call our course a master's degree and we are not MACI accredited, they will make an announcement to the government. So we have to call advanced degree in theology or some sort of thing, and we cannot call it a master, even though the level would be of a master's. We cannot call it anymore.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the quality of these programs that are being offered, the things that Diego's working with. But here's the prayer request then. Pray for those young men and women that want to train for the ministry, that they won't get their sights on an academically approved degree, but they'll get their sights on getting a good training for the ministry and pleasing the Lord. And that's a hard thing to weigh. It's hard here in the States, and it's right now one of the crucial issues in theological training in Brazil. Let me close with prayer. Father, thank you for the opportunity this morning to get to hear this and to try to understand some of the issues involved, that we might be able to pray more effectively for Diego and for Jean-Juan and for the others that are involved in the training. But we do pray especially, Lord, too, for those young men and women who want to serve you and are making life decisions regarding their education and training. We pray that you would give them the right sense of values, and we know that it's not a single answer for every case, but that you would just help men to dedicate their lives to godly pastoral Christian service. And we thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen. The offering plate is still there.